What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as J Monster, and thank you for joining me for another third Age Reforged replay battle. This one is a 3 versus 4 10k no rules battle on the Elven front map, and there's some pretty crazy stuff that happens. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the army compositions, then we can jump right into the battle. The first army is the army of the Silvan Elves, being commanded by yours truly. I have 1 unit of Elder Pathfinder, 5 units of Forest Wardens, 1 Silvan Heavy Archers, 3, I believe, units of Sentinels of the Woodland Realm, 2 Woodland Warriors, and hanging out here in the back of my general looking very sexy are the Elder Palace Guard. These guys are really powerful and they do a lot of work in this battle, you guys will see. And finally, up here on this ridge on my right flank, I have a single unit of Ballista. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at one of the armies of my allies. This is the army of the Dwarves, being commanded by Starling. He's got 1 unit of Dwarven Noblemen, 1 unit of Sons of the Fallen, 1 Ironfoot Crossbow, 2 Khazad Orc Hunters, 4 Khazad Warriors, 3 Khazad Sentries, 1 Catapult, and a Partridge in a Pear Tree. Farther back here in the valley, we have the army of Romer Sigma, who is commanding the Kingdom of Harad. He's got 4 units of Southron Warband, 3 units of Corsair Warriors, 2 units of Bellygear Footmen, 1 unit of Nara Royal Archers, and down here he has a single unit of the very famous, very deadly Mumakil. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the armies of the quote-unquote attackers. The first army is the army of the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. This is the player facing directly off against me. His name is Cow, and he's got 3 units of Goblin Heavy Halberds, 6 units of Goblin Heavy Infantry, and every kind of troll imaginable. Look at this. This is a very scary, very intimidating force to look at. He's got 1 unit of Mountain Trolls, 1 unit of Cave Trolls, 1 unit of Snow Trolls, 1 unit of Orcs Bodyguards, 3 units of Goblin Heavy Archers, and a single unit of Warg Riders. Up here on this hill that is absolutely bristling with archers, we have the High Elves, rather. This is the army of Boban. He's got 4 units of Norituna Warriors who are all lining this ridge up here, 1 unit of Falas Lords, 1 unit of Mithlon Nobles, 1 unit of Eldarinway Swordsmen, rather, 1 unit of Light Sword Quendi, 2 units of Lindon Longspears, 1 unit of Eldarinway Nobles, and a single unit of Eldarinway Lancers. The third and sort of final, but not really, you guys will see in a little bit, is the army of Mordor, being commanded by Captain Chaos. He's got 1 unit of Olokai, 1 unit of Morgul Chosen, 1 unit of Nazgul, 1 unit of Mounted Nazgul. Yes, there are 11 Nazgul in this battle. Shh, it's okay, don't question it. He's also got 1 unit of Temple Inquisitors, 2 units of Sauron's Will, 3 units of Orc Maulers, you can see them right here, and 5 units of Orc Band. A very large kind of quantity, yes, that's the one, quantity over quality approach. And there is a 4th attacking army, but there is some kind of weirdness that happens with these guys. This is the army of the 3 Peoples of Mordor, being commanded by Apollo the Great, and you can't see them, but there is actually a very vast bandit horde hiding in this plains area. But unfortunately, due to kind of how the pathfinding works on this bridge over here on the Elven front, he's not going to be able to get across. But he is going to play a important role in the battle, and you guys will see exactly what that's going to be in just a little bit. So that's it for the army compositions. Let's go ahead and let's jump right into the battle. So as soon as the gate opens, as it were, I'm going to kick it off by moving my entire infantry force over here into this wooded area, which is going to allow me a little bit of the element of surprise, and then I'm going to be able to hide some of my units in here, and the Orc player might forget about them. And it's also going to protect my left flank with this camp area. This is traversable; you can get across it, but it's not exactly easy. The most efficient way of making it through here is actually to go all the way around, which will funnel whatever units that he has into a very narrow corridor. So it's going to be important for protecting my left flank, and it's also going to have the added effect of funneling the Orc player into a very narrow area where my archers can do a lot of work on him. Over here, they can see my allies beginning to move into position. The Haradra moving forward with their Mobakill Pain Train, running right through their Dwarven ally, absolutely not giving any fucks at all. And this poor dwarf just being trampled underfoot by the Mobakill. And what the Haradrim are trying to do is, because things are looking pretty difficult for me over here with all of those trolls and all these heavy infantry, he's going to bring his Mumakil in through this pass, or at least he's going to try, and it's going to try and give me a little bit of support, which I'm desperately going to need. And you can see the Goblin player, this is Cow, moving his heavy Goblin Halberds a little bit forward. I think this is a mistake, because these Halberds, they have decent armor, but they have no shields, which makes them a very easy target for my missile troops. And you can see us just absolutely devastating this Halberd line with my Sentinels of the Woodland Realm and my Silvan Heavy Archers. These guys are going to fall like leaves in the face of this sustained arrow assault. And I think he realizes what's happening, so he's going to kind of correct his mistake and begin to move backwards with his heavy Goblin Halberds. Luckily for me, they are quite slow, and turning them around like this does expose their back. So Yeah, so they're going to take quite a lot of casualties, and I think that's going to be a little bit unnecessary. Over here, you can see the dwarf player now moving into place to begin skirmishing with these high elves up here in the hill. Definitely want to try, especially when they have the superior positioning like this, you want to get your archers into those spaghetti lines. I say this all the time, but it's really important for keeping your archers alive and potentially giving you a healthy unit well into the late stages of a battle. The dwarves now moving forward, getting ready to assault this hill position here that is being commanded by the high elves. The dwarves, I think, have a pretty good chance of doing it. The Khazad warriors are no slouches in melee combat. They are AP. These Silvan long spears they're comparatively lightly armored compared to the rest of the high elven roster, but they are AP and they do have a nice little positioning advantage here. So it could really go either way. But the high elves doesn't seem like they have a lot of archers that are really in a good position to put down a lot of flanking fire aside from these nocturnal warriors. And luckily for the high elves, though, Captain Chaos is now moving in with his Mordor horde. You can see the first wave of Orc band now making its way towards this position. I'm not sure if they're going to go. No, they're not really going to have time to get up there onto the hill. The dwarves are already on top of them. These Khazad sentries marching forward, beginning to lower their pikes in anticipation for skewering some dirty orcs on the ends of them. And these orcs not really liking that engagement are going to try and fall back. So the defending forces, I suppose you can call them, the outnumbered force, doing a really nice job here at preventing the quote-unquote attackers from uniting their forces and presenting a united front up here on this hill, where I think it would be very difficult, even for the superior Khazad infantry, to push their way through. Especially not if the masses of these orcs are backing up the high elves of all things. So let's go ahead and let's take a look over here. The Momokil now firmly into the back of the goblins. You can see lots of missiles coming in, just scything through the ranks of these goblins, maybe taking a few of the warg riders with them as well. And I'm going to take advantage of this chaos and begin to move all of my infantry in now. You can see my Silvan wardens charging forward, getting ready to engage these halberds who are definitely out of formation. I could have done the positioning here a little bit better. These guys are a little bit bunched up, but I think it's going to work out for us regardless. These heavily governed halberds, I think they're now trying to get themselves into kind of a closer knit formation so they can use their spear wall formation against my lightly armed infantry. But it's a little bit too late over here on the goblin right flank. My forest wardens now already in amongst the goblins, able to penetrate that formation and just get in there and kill a whole bunch of these dirty mountain dwelling savages. And over here, it looks like I've got some infantry now in amongst the warg riders, and this is really big. I wanted to annihilate his cavalry as quickly as possible, or at the very least reduce them down to a shadow of their former strength, because my Silvan cavalry is not very powerful. It looks like he actually had 2 units of warg riders, but my Silvan cavalry is not very powerful and not up to the task of handily defeating a unit of warg riders in 1v1. So if I can destroy them by other means, that's going to be a huge victory for my army. Up here, we've kind of outflanked a unit of goblin heavy archers who were stationed up on the hill, a couple units of forest wardens, and now one of my units of woodland warriors. Fresh from that victory, able to come onto the flank of the goblins, who are now trying to fall back from this position. We've thoroughly beaten their first line. The heavy goblin halberds are being absolutely destroyed, rather, by the Momokil and by my infantry. And pretty soon this army here is going to fall apart, and the goblin player is going to try and save what's left of them and fall back as many of his warriors as he can. And I think he's going to use them to put pressure on my allies over here on the other side. Speaking of, we can see some of the High Elven cavalry now getting in amongst the Ironfoot crossbows. This is really unfortunate for Starling. He wasn't able to protect his crossbows as much as he would have liked to, and that's going to prove, I think, to be very important given the ranged advantage that the High Elves are enjoying up there on that hill. Definitely don't want to lose your skirmishers like this. And they're trying to flee, but that second unit of Eldar cavalry comes in and starts to run these guys down. I think we might see them begin to rout here, although maybe they're going to get away. But the Army of Harad here, I think, should be moving their forces forward in an attempt to support these Ironfoot crossbows and potentially catch the High Elven cavalry out of position. That would be a really big defeat for the High Elves. They've invested a lot of money into their cavalry, and a lot of the killing power of their army rests among their cavalry. Everything else basically is a holding force. His Silvan long spears and the rest of his infantry, their job is basically to hold up on this hill and allow the archers and the powerful Elven cavalry to do their job. Roma Segwin now moving forward with the bulk of his infantry. A huge general charge here from Harad, who's going to begin to assault this position up here. And I think that the dwarves are having a little bit of an issue. These Khazad warriors not doing quite so well as they would like. The Sons of the Fallen now in here against the Falas Lords, which is not a fight I think that they're liable to win. These Dwarven noblemen, looks like they're trying to fend off a hammer and anvil strike, from those Elderway nobles. They are going to manage to get in there and deal a fair amount of damage to these nobles. These Dwarven noblemen, not really a unit that you want to underestimate, especially even if you have heavy cavalry. They can stand up to it quite well. They have a lot of armor and they have a lot of HP. Yeah, so the High Elven player now going to try and get out of that engagement, but if he's not careful, he could find himself very quickly trapped in here by the advancing army of Harad, and there's a lot of spears and a lot of infantry in there that could absolutely devastate this cavalry. Yeah, the Dwarf player has got to be feeling pretty good right now. His rear now secure, except for over here where there's this huge hammer and anvil going down. Oh my goodness, those noblemen taking it hard from behind from the Elderway Lancers. Look at that. They were wholly unprepared. They didn't have time to turn around. Looks like some of Mordor's trolls, or this is the Misty Mountain trolls, all of them, in fact, are now in this fight and beginning to push back the heavy Dwarven infantry. This is exactly what the High Elves needed and exactly at the right moment. But look at this. Oh my goodness. The Mumakil now up here on this ridge, absolutely devastating these No Eternal Warriors. At least one of these units, I think. Oh no, there's still 52, but honestly, these guys are not going to stand up very long in the face of the Mumakil, they're going to kill them in droves, and it's going to be very unfortunate for the High Elven player. Down here, it looks like the Orcs of the Misty Mountain have managed to save a fair amount of their army. They are kind of putting some of their units in the way in the event that they want to kind of block off this engagement back here. But we have handily defeated a large number of goblins. Managed to take down some of their infantry who we managed to catch rather in the rout, or in their retreat. And we've dealt a pretty stinging defeat to the Goblins of the Misty Mountain, who are now missing quite a lot of their army. Over here, Captain Chaos has now managed to get a lot of his forces up onto the hill. I'm not too sure how he managed to do that. He might have brought them in and around, and it looks like that's probably what he did, given the direction that these Orc band are now retreating. But these Orc maulers here, really easy prey for my Elven archers, and you can see me already beginning to move some Sentinels of the Woodland Realm into place so we can begin to bombard this position and soften it up so that I can move in with my infantry and attack this hill fort from behind. Because over here, my allies definitely having a bit of an issue. They are kind of easy prey down here for those Elven archers. I think the Mumakil are basically dead now. They tried to come into the back of the Phalos Lords, and unfortunately, they fell in battle alongside their Dwarven allies. But it does present a unique opportunity in that after the Mumakil die, their corpses, they kind of are a lot stickier than your average corpse. Normally you can just walk over infantry and cavalry and even Balrogs, but the Mumakil, you will get your units stuck on them, and it's very hard to disentangle them. So they kind of landed directly on top of the Phalos Lords, which I think is going to prove to be really important later in the battle, because those Phalos Lords are going to be pretty well incapable of moving for quite a while. Over here, Starling, his infantry really starting to lose steam, I think, here. The Sons of the Fallen says that the defeat is almost certain for them. They are kind of surrounded, but these guys have so much armor and so much melee defense that it's going to take a long time for even the heavily armored elves, or the high attack power elves, rather, to put a dent in this unit. Captain Chaos, at the meantime, moving in some of his Orc band and his Orc maulers in behind them. But they're going to be wholly outclassed, I think, fighting these Dwarven infantry on the front line. They'll probably have a better time against Harad. That's going to be a lot more of an even fight. But for the time being, things are definitely in favor of the Dwarves in the Harad Rim. Captain Chaos now committing some of his forces to the battle, really just trying to keep this line from falling apart with large numbers of troops at his disposal. The High Elves, I think some of these units might be out of ammunition, so they're going to start to move them forwards. And this is really a boon for the Harad Rim, because now they're not going to be able to absolutely devastate them with fire from above. Up here, it looks like the High Elven cavalry, being very bold, managed to slip through the Harad Rim's lines, and they're now getting into the back of these warriors, and they're going to take a huge bite out of these Beliar footmen, who are very, very bunched up. Unfortunately, they not going to do as well against this cavalry. They are going to manage to get a few of them down, but they're not going to do quite as nicely against them as I think the Harad Rim player really needed. He needed to probably wipe out like 5 or 6 of those nobles to really reduce their effectiveness. But he is giving chase right now with one of his units of Selthron warbands. Right, might get a nice rear charge here. No, they're just going to barely miss it. Over here, it looks like the Khazad sentries were... Oh no, they managed to catch a couple units of Orc band, and they've really devastated this Orcish infantry, who are going to begin to rout just about any minute now. But Starling had an opportunity here to try and to kind of catch these Elderway nobles in between his cav, but unfortunately he's not going to be able to do it until too late. And the Selthron warband, absolutely relentless though. Look at them. They're just going to chase those Elderway nobles down and not let them get back into the rear of these troops again. Because if they can launch a number of successful hammer and anvil strikes against this blob, then this front line here could very, very quickly collapse, and the hilltop defenders could really easily take the engagement. Over here, another big charge coming in from the Elder Inmate Lancers, rather, into a blob of Corsair Warriors and some Southron Warband. At the same time, this is really a nicely timed counterattack. The Goblins of the Misty Mountains charging in alongside some of their trolls. What remains of their trolls, in any case. Not too many of them left. Meanwhile, the High Elves just still pelting these guys with arrows, and I think this front here for the Haradrim is going to fall apart really quickly. You can see already some of the Southrons beginning to rout, and the Corsairs thinking that they might do the same thing pretty shortly. Over here, I'm still kind of taking my sweet time. I've got archers up here on the ridge to shoot into the side of some of these Northern Warriors. We did manage to do a lot of damage to this unit before they retreated, now down to about 37, and down here in the valley, my Silvan archers, I think, have done about as well as I expected them to. Against these Orc Maulers, we did manage to take down quite a few of them, and now we're moving in with some of our Forest Wardens, while all the chaos is keeping the attacking forces busy on the other side. And hopefully we can take advantage of that and slip our forces in here as quickly and efficiently as possible without having them see it and then move in some of the reinforcements. He's got some Temple Inquisitors down here, and that could really keep my forces busy for a very long time. So I want to get in there and try and penetrate this back line as quickly as possible and move some of my more powerful armor-piercing units like my Woodland Warriors into perhaps these Nazgul, which I think they would do quite well with. Over here, this front line really looking like it's beginning to switch in favor of the Dwarves and the Haradrim. The only real big issue that they're having is that down here, these Corsair Warriors are mired in a very vicious combat against the Orc Bodyguards. And this is an armor-piercing 2 HP heavily armored unit, and they're really going to do a lot of work. But luckily, I've managed to get my Elder Pathfinders over here and into the backs of these Orc Bodyguards, and hopefully that's going to deal a lot of damage to them. Look at that. Quite a lot of those Orc Bodyguards fell in that combat. And these trolls now trying to chase these guys and prevent the hammer and anvil strikes from coming in to the back of the attackers now, which they definitely don't want. But luckily my cavalry are very swift and are able to get away from that engagement. There are some Noriterno archers up here that are kind of shooting at them, but there's really not a whole lot that I can do about that. What I'm trying to do is get in amongst these Elder Inway nobles and try and have them isolated and use what remains of my allies' infantry to hold these guys down while we get an effective counterattack off on them. Unfortunately, this is really bad. The Dwarven Catapult was silenced by these Eldar Rinway cavalry, and unfortunately not going to be able to bring that to bear against the defending positions. If they could do that, then they would just be able to break giant holes in their lines and then exploit those gaps. That's a really big loss for the outnumbered quote-unquote defenders. Another big charge coming in here from my Elder Pathfinders, down to a mere 15 though. We have taken a lot of damage, both from the arrow fire and from the charges we've been launching into the infantry. The High Elven Cavalry now has the advantage again of numbers, and they're going to try and chase these guys around the map, but at the same time Romer Sigma is kind of warding them off with a unit of Southron Warband. If they get caught in there amongst these spears and then get charged from behind by my Elder Pathfinders, he could lose a lot of cavalry really quickly. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot that he can do here. He's trying to kind of keep us busy in a whole bunch of different places and present a constant fluid menace to the back lines. But Romer Sigma, I think, is doing a really nice job of fending off those cavalry and putting the fear of God in them, as it were, thanks to his many and varied spear units. Oh dear, see, that is very unfortunate. The Haradrim now have lost their general, and that could very well be devastating for their army. They don't have a lot of troops left, and their troops aren't always in the best positions. So things like this, like these hammer and anvil charges, could very quickly see these Southron Warband off. And I think they are actually beginning to rout. Oh no, not quite yet, but soon enough. And over here you can see a big hammer and anvil charge going to go off into the backs of these Goblin heavy infantry. These Southron Warband now pinning them in place. Not as effective as a charge as I would have otherwise hoped it would be, but it was a charge nonetheless. We tried. We did our best. These Elder Pathfinders now really suffered, down to a mere 10 individuals in the unit, now down to 9. So I think around this time I'm going to say, yeah, my cav has done as much as it can do. We're going to begin to retreat them and hold them in reserve for a later date. Over here, the Cavalry of the High Elves not really looking quite as good as they were. The Elder Ring Lancers down to 14, these Elder Ring Nobles now down to a mere 9. So they through attrition and time, we have managed to reduce the High Elven Cavalry down to about half strength, essentially. But there still are quite a lot of them left. More than enough, I think, to be a real menace to our back lines. Over here, though, this is where it's getting important. Look at this. Mordor now embroiled in a general conflict with a lot of my Silvan Elves. He has sent in his Temple Inquisitors, but I'm kind of holding them down with some armor-piercing units and some high-damage light infantry. And it does say the victory is certain for them. The Temple Inquisitors are quite powerful. They did get buffed in 0.85, but eventually this Elven surround here is going to start to bear fruit, and we'll be able to take those Temple Inquisitors. It does have the added benefit of tying them down long enough for me to move more and more of my infantry up onto the hill. I can see the dire situation my allies are in over here. So what I'm going to try and do is come into the back lines and give them the support that they need to finally push through and break through these attacking lines. I call them the quote-unquote attackers because we had originally intended for my team to take the hill, but because we didn't have enough time, unfortunately, for everybody to participate, we just said, forget it, we'll just go for it. And so, that was kind of the situation. So we started off at a little bit of a disadvantage here. And my Silvan Elf Forest Warden's now moving up here. I've got my Sylvan Heavy Archers and my Sentinels of the Woodland Realm who are ready to begin doing a lot of damage to these Mordor backlines. But look at this. The Olokai have been held in reserve for a very long time alongside the Nazgul. This is some really, really tough units. I don't know what happened here. I think the Olokai just knocked over the Nazgul. But he's got some of his best units still to be committed to the battle. These Olokai and these Nazgul are going to prove to be a really dangerous force for my warriors. At the same time, I have to commit a unit of Sylvan Wardens down here, because I don't want these Orc Band getting into my archers. If they get in amongst the Sylvan Sentinels of the Woodland Realm, they will do actually a surprising amount of damage, because these guys are quite lightly armored archers. So I want to deal with these Orc Band very quickly, which my Forest Wardens are more than capable of doing, and I can bring them into the rear of these Nazgul and these Olokai. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of very powerful heavy infantry with which to counter these Olokai. The only thing I really have is my Elder Palace Guard, who haven't quite arrived yet. Of course, I've got a unit of Elder Pathfinders as well that I managed to salvage from the battle. So they could be very important for taking on the Olokai. That charge that they have is very, very deadly. I'm not too sure where my Elder Palace Guard are hanging out, though. I can't quite see them, but I know they're in here somewhere. Oh yeah, here they are. Nope, that's not them at all. Nah, they're somewhere. They're important. Oh yes, they're over here fighting. I'm trying to use them to break through the backlines as quickly as possible. These Morgul Chosen are very heavily armored, but the Elder Palace Guard are AP. So if I can use them to quickly break through the Morgul Chosen and the Orc Maulers that are defending the backline, then I'm free to bring more troops down into the rear here. And there's a lot of Sauron's Will, a lot of very powerful units down here. And if we can trap all of this, is a significant portion of the forces that remain to the attackers. And look at this, my poor defending allies. They are now absolutely surrounded. They've got Goblin heavy infantry on one side, and High Elves and Mordor on the other. It's really the Dwarves that are kind of keeping this army in the fight at this point. I think most of the Haradrim now have been completely destroyed. They fought very well down here, but against that cavalry, there really wasn't a whole lot they could do, especially while they were kind of being attacked on all sides. They had the Noriturnum up there, who were dealing a lot of damage to them as well. But yeah, the Dwarves, the absolutely redoubtable Dwarves, holding the line together. Although it looks like Harad does have one unit of Bellier Footmen, and maybe his Nar Royal Archers in the battle as well somewhere. Yeah, they're holding steady, and they're actually managing to beat back the Goblin infantry. And soon enough, help will be on the way. I managed to scoot my Elder Pathfinders through here. They did get caught up a little bit on that Sauron's Will. I think a lot of them are going to die. But we are going to be able to get them, at least some of them, into the backs of these Noriturnum warriors, who are now pinned down fighting a group of Khazad sentries, and hopefully give them the support that they need to break through that encirclement. We've lost half of our Over here you can see some of my Elder Palace Guard now in battle against the Sauron's Will. The Sauron's Will do not have a chance against this combination. These Forest Wardens who are flanking them are very high damage, and they have really nice melee defense, alongside these Palace Guard who, as we all know, are extremely powerful. Over here, though, the absence of my Palace Guard definitely being felt. My Sentinels of the Woodland Realm kind of got caught in the mix here amongst some Olokai and a lot of very powerful Mordor units. My Woodland Warrior is now surrounded, so this is a bit of an issue for me because I don't want to lose any of my infantry if I can help it. I'm going to need an intact army to fight what remains of the attacking forces. I am trying to get some more reinforcements in there. Some of my Woodland Warriors down to about 33. Scooting some of my Sentinels of the Woodland Realm through here. The fight over here against Temple Inquisitors has gone very well. They're now down to a mere 16, but this is a bit of a disaster. The High Elves, the Elder Rinway Lancers of Boban, and his Elder Rinway Nobles are in the mix now. Oh, there goes the Goblin General. That's going to be really devastating for the Goblin morale. But they're now in the mix and able to silence my Ballista if they so choose, and potentially get into the back lines of my infantry up here, who's very, very thinly spread. I am kind of trying to get my my archers out of the mix and maybe begin to put some fire down on these Olokai. But honestly, it's looking pretty grim for me right here. These Olokai are a little bit weaker, but my infantry up here is looking very much worse for wear. Over here, I've got a unit of Silvan Heavy Archers who are now being attacked by some of the Sauron's Will, and look at this. The Elder Rinway Lancers now coming in from behind them. This is not how I want to lose my archers. I definitely need them, especially up here in this position where they can fire down into these troops. I need them to stay alive, if at all possible. Luckily for me, these Elder Rinway Nobles are too tired to get a proper charge into the back of my Silvan Heavy Archers. They will manage to take down a few of them, and these Silvan Heavy Archers, not to be underestimated, and they are going to chase these Elder Rinway Nobles off for the time being. But at the same time, the Elder Rinway Lancers coming in, trying to flank charge my Silvan Heavy Archers, but the Sauron's Will a little bit in the way, so not the most effective charge. And at the same time, my Silvan Heavy Archers are beginning to surround these Sauron's Will, so it's kind of in the balance here. All these Elder Rinway cavalry need is to get a nice charge off on my archers, and then they'll be absolutely able to devastate this regiment. Over here, though, finally, I have managed to break through with my Elder Palace Guard. Still looking really healthy, down to 35 out of, I think, like 41. So still looking real good. And I've got some Force Wardens down here who managed to help these guys break the encirclement. The only unit that's really left of the attacking front line is these Phallus Lords. And they're very powerful and still quite numerous. And so it's going to take quite a while for our units to take them down. But really, there's not a whole lot of them left. The three armies that were stuck over here have largely been annihilated, mostly thanks to, I think, my two allies who managed to hold up so much of their infantry and expend so much of their forces here, especially thanks to those Mumakil from Romer Sigma, really played a decisive role in this battle. And my Elder Palace Guard here, now trying to get a piece of those Elder Rinway Lancers as they try to get into the flank of my Silvan Heavy Archers. Up here, it says victory is still certain. They do have a nice hill advantage, but yeah, they are still being harassed in the back by the Elder Rinway Nobles. We have managed to take down a few of them, I think. They were at like 6 or 7 a moment ago, but yeah, things definitely not looking great for my infantry on this side. Although, luckily, I did manage to get my Elder Palace Guard into those Elder Rinway Lancers and take down, looks like, quite a number of them. About 4 of them died in that little skirmish. And I can bring the rest of my infantry in to surround these Sauron's Will, take them down, and free up my Silvan Heavy Archers. Still 28 of them left, not too bad, and free them up for other things. Over here, the forces of Mordor, these Nazgul, have managed to devastate my infantry. All of my Woodland Warriors, all of my reinforcements that I poured into this area have been completely destroyed. I had some archers in the back here, but they have been run down by these mounted Nazgul, these absolute terrors. They are basically trolls on horses. They are fast, deadly, and have a lot of HP. Down here, these Olokai doing a number on another unit of my Forest Wardens. So my army definitely in tatters at this point. Everything that I managed to get up onto this hill over here is okay, but everything else that wasn't able to get up there and kind of got caught in the advance. You can see, yeah, a lot of Forest Wardens and my Ballista have been destroyed here by the combined might of Mordor and the High Elves. Yeah, still up here, we're kind of looking okay. These Sauron's Will now able to escape from that fight. These Nazgul trying to disengage themselves from my Woodland Warriors. I think they're going to take 1 or 2 casualties in the process. And over here, I've still got some fairly healthy units. 1 unit of Forest Wardens, Palace Guard, and some Silvan Heavy Archers. This is definitely a force to be reckoned with. Unfortunately, this is really all I've got left at this point. Still, we're still kind of in it. We've done a lot of damage and really destroyed these 3 armies over here. But the biggest threat left at this point is these Elder Rinway Nobles on either side, and these Phallus Lords down here. And my allies still kind of have an army. Starling's got about 19 Khazad sentries there. Quite a significant amount of Sons of the Fallen. 34 left at this point in the battle is pretty big. 9 Dwarven Nobles, and my ally Romer Sigma has 35 Beligear Footmen, which I believe is all that remains of his forces. He's going to bring them around here now onto the Elven flank to engage his No Return warriors and begin to destroy what remains of the High Elven army. So let's go ahead and let's fast forward just a wee bit. You can see these trolls just pushing through my lines, trying to avoid an engagement with my Elder Palace Guard. The Mortar and the High Elf forces working really nicely together here to silence my Silvan Heavy Archer units, who was still a threat at 28. We could have done a lot of damage to their trolls and to their very depleted cavalry. And unfortunately, my Elder Palace Guard, strong though they are, they cannot be in 10 places at once. And they're trying to fight all of these troops, and they're a little bit spread thin at the moment. Now fighting Olokai and Nazgul and these, and it looks like some Temple Inquisitors as well, alongside some Elder Army Lancers. So a really tough engagement here. My Forest Wardens really having a hard time against the Sauron World on their own. They do outnumber them, and they are kind of able to wrap around them, but there is some Nazgul in there as well. That's really starting to tip the scales in favor of the Sauron's will. And there goes the Dwarven General, killed by the Falas Lords. I believe he's hanging out in the Sons of the Fallen. Very unfortunate. Me now trying to disentangle some of my Silvan Heavy Archers, get them up here onto the crest of this hill, and begin to shoot at the Elder Ringway Nobles and the remaining Elder Ringway Lancers. Which is exactly what we're doing. You can see a few hits managing to reach their mark and hit these Elder Ringway Lancers, but they are just going to run around our formation and run it directly into my archers. Romer Sigma trying to give me a little bit of support. He's got his Belgar Footmen now in the battle, which I think is going to be enough to make those Elder Ringway Lancers blink and think twice about charging my archers up on the hill. But they're going to now try and come into the back of my Elder Palace Guard, but they're too tired to get a nice charge off, and there's not enough of them to really do a lot of damage. So my Palace Guard, alongside what remains of those Forest Wardens, are going to be able to see those guys off. Still at 34. We've only lost about 1 in the unit during this entire engagement. And the Troll's now gone. I think the Nazgul going to fall very shortly, but the mounted Nazgul are going to be able to get in here and get in amongst my archers and just kind of cause a lot of havoc, which is what Nazgul are for. Let's fast forward just a little bit there. Again, trying to disentangle my archers, get them through those spearmen, but I draw them too far, and they get themselves a little bit surrounded. And yeah, it's a bit of a misstep on my part, not really thinking that movement through too much. At this point, there's not really enough of them left to make a difference, so I charge them into the back of some Nazgul. 5 of my 6 remaining archers now are butchered, so this unit essentially ineffective. So the attackers have done a great job of shutting down that archer menace, which I think could have been used to great effect to destroy what little forces they have remaining to them. Over here, there's my Sylvan Forest Wardens, my archer, and looks like the Nazgul as well, who are fighting together. And the Bellier Wardens who are fighting together against the Nazgul. I'm going to bring my Elder Palace Wardens in there to flank that unit and try and destroy them. And we managed to save our 1 remaining Silvan Heavy Archer. Look at him, the one shell-shock survivor of both of these units, a Forest Warden and a Silvan Heavy Archer. It's almost like an RPG party, just heading off towards the next engagement. Yeah, the High Elves down here have now been almost completely annihilated. The Falas Lords, I think, are down to a mere 12s. They've really been fighting for a long time. They were at 24, like 10 or 15 minutes ago, and that's with fast forwarding. So that's just how strong those units are. Very powerful. Definitely a super unit of sorts, but they're very expensive and will always serve you well. There's no return to warriors. Not really having a great time. They got some Falas Lords over here. I'm trying to bring my Elder Palace Guard into them, but I don't. We kind of have one of them over here as well, and I don't want to have my Elder Palace Guard trickle in 2 different engagements and get themselves cut down, which is exactly what's going to happen if I'm not careful. So I'm trying to pull my Wardens back here so I can keep them together and we can fight as a unit and move in and destroy what remains of these Falas Lords, rather. Mere 10 of them left. Look at this. They've taken down a lot of my Palace Guard, though. Slowly but surely, managing to push the engagement in our favor and surround these Falas Lords. The Haradrim, what remains of the Belligear Footmen. This is all that remains of that great Haradrim force we saw earlier. Just 16 Belligear Footmen coming in to flank these Falas Lords. Yeah, it's still at 29. I think most of these Falas Lords at this point are just getting stun locked. Not really a whole lot they can do. They can't really fight back. And slowly but surely they're going to begin to crumble. A pretty epic last stand from those Falas Lords. So at this point, we were been talking with the other player, and we realized that he can't actually get across here, because we looked at the balance of power and we're like, there's no enemies left, but still they have 25% of their army. Well, there's a very good reason for that, and you can see him beginning to form up his troops over here. If only we had some of our artillery left, and maybe some of our archers, we could really present a genuine threat to those bandits on the other side. But since he can't get across and we only have a few forces left, we're going to go for a glory charge and move what remains of the Sons of the Fallen and my Elder Palace Guard, who are now down to, I think, about 29 men in the unit. I'm going to slowly move them into this engagement and fight the bandits on the other side. So I'll see you guys in just a moment. And look at this as our forces begin to cross the bridge and set up for our final heroic stand against the attackers. There's just so many of these bandits, and this one Elder Ridway noble who has declared himself the king of the bandits, who's now de facto leading this force as the only one here who could afford armor, basically. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward just a little bit. You can see the Elder Palace Guard now moving up onto this hill. The dwarves trying to follow me, but it looks like they're kind of having some pathfinding problems of their own. So now that our forces are completely across the bridge, the bandits are going to charge in one big mass at our outnumbered but still defiant warriors who are ready to meet this charge with steel and faith. These dwarven noblemen really, unfortunately, out of position. It'd be better if they were kind of over here with the Sons of the Fallen. These Beligear footmen, they're kind of slowly moving into the battle, but they're not going to like having to be so outnumbered and to fight all of these troops and be so surrounded, essentially, which is what the bandits are now trying to do. That these Beligear footmen aren't going to be very long for the battle. You can see them now beginning to waver. And I think we're going to see the last elements of Rumor Sigmund's army begin to melt away here in just a few moments. But they did come at us in a bit of a blob, so you can see us trying to surround them. If you are outnumbered, this is a perfectly valid tactic to try and use. If you can get a nice surround off, you can potentially beat a much more numerous force. But unfortunately, our right flank, rather, beginning to crumble. Those Beligear spearmen not really liking the engagement and running for the hills now. Which leaves the Sons of the Fallen and the Elder Palace Guard to take on this horrendous bandit horde. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward through this, because it's going to be pretty crazy. Look at this. This one High Elven Elder Ridway noble just kind of searching for an opening here, trying to get into the back lines and devastate our infantry, but unfortunately, on his own, he's not going to be able to do it. My Elder Palace Guard now down nine individuals in the unit, down to a mere 20, still fighting hard. Oh, there goes my general. Now that unit is down to 19, 18. So many of the Palace Guard fighting and dying for the glory of their lord and of their country. And slowly but surely, we're beginning to be pushed back into an encirclement. Some of my Palace Guard here trying to fight to keep that open, but they're slowly, what remains of them, being pushed back into this circle of spears and shields made by the Sons of the Fallen. The Dwarves and Elves fighting hard together against this nearly impossible enemy to defeat, but slowly but surely they're going to be able to complete that encirclement, and the Elder Palace Guard, who are kind of caught outside of the circle, are going to be surrounded and cut down by the bandits. Slow down just a little bit so you can get a taste of the action. These Elder Palace Guard now down to 5, but the Sons of the Fallen still 26. The armor of these guys proving nearly impenetrable to the light swords of these bandits of the Free Peoples of Eriador. There's still a few Palace Guard in there. There's still, I believe, about 4 now, and they're going to be able to kind of just poke through these gaps and get some nice pot shots off here on these bandits and kill quite a number of them. Look at this, one of them going down right now. He accidentally got himself in behind the Dwarven lines and was confronted by one of the Palace Guard. This Dunedain officer now trying to avenge his fallen warrior, but unfortunately going to find himself cut down alongside him. So let's zoom out just a little bit and look at this. 26 Sons of the Fallen, 3 Palace Guard now, down to a mere 3. The Palace Guard getting a lot of kills still, though. You can see them just kind of using the dwarves as a bit of a shield and popping through to poke a bandit and kill him every so often when they have the opportunity. The Elder Palace Guard now down to a mere 2. Oh, they're still at 3. 1 now. 2 of them just went down. This is the last one right here. The last individual in the Palace Guard, the last member of the Elven army still standing. Very unfortunate. Still, the Sons of the Fallen says the victory is certain for them. Look at this. This absolutely epic final stand here. It seems like there is hope yet for the Sons of the Fallen. Some of these bandits are kind of managing to penetrate this formation, but the warriors remaining on the inside of it. Look at the standard bearer standing right in the center, rallying the warriors around them, cutting down anybody that manages to make it through the lines. I think my Palace Guard... No, there's still one left. Look at this. Still a final Palace Guardsman left. Going to get in there and try and get some kills. Another nice kill. He took on one of the Dunedain officers, but he ended up being taken down himself. And look at this. Unfortunately, things starting to turn in favor of the bandits Bandits able to just rush through the very thin line of the Sons of the Fallen, beginning to slowly crush this formation. But these bandits, look at them, heavily reduced. You can see just a carpet of bodies here created by those units. Those brave warriors fighting back to back against overwhelming odds. Now there's that one elven commander now getting in amongst the Sons of the Fallen, trying to avenge the loss of his brothers in combat. Really the only survivor of the elven army. There's no one left on either side. There's no Mordor. There is no Misty Mountains. It's just this one guy and this horde of bandits. The Sons of the Fallen still putting up a fight, though. They've managed to reform their ring, keep their formation intact. That banner carrier still at the center of the formation, rallying everybody around him. Now face to face with one of the bandits. Let's see if he's able to take that bandit down. Oh, that bandit being absolutely relentless. Can he do it? Oh, he did. He managed to defend the standard, taking down another one of the bandits from behind. A third one. Absolutely heroic. Oh, now he's being attacked from behind by one of the Elder nobles. That's a tough fight for him. Let's see if we can take him down. See if we can take down the king of the bandits. No, he's really not able to get any attacks in there. And the Elder noble just hammering away at that banner bearer, trying to break that dwarven morale. He's got an opportunity. Looks like he's busy elsewhere. No, he's just not attacking for whatever reason. He can't seem to find his way in there. And he's got now a Dunedain officer in behind him, attacking him. And slowly but surely, the Sons have fallen. Now down to a mere 10 units, trying to hold their formation, but they're just really not able to. Oh, that banner carrier, he's still in it. He's still in the fight, refusing to die, bleeding from tens of wounds all over his body, but still not giving up. Still, the dwarves believe that they can achieve victory. Look at that. All right, let's fast forward just a little bit. See how long that banner carrier manages to last. Quite a while. He's just being pummeled on either side, but he refuses to die. Truly, this is the incarnation of Durin the Deathless. Man, there's like 3 Dunedain officers now beating on him alongside an Elder noble. He just won't go down. Sons of the Fallen still at 9. Still managing to form a circle here. There's about 4 or 5 of them in here. I think the rest have been kind of surrounded. But these guys still fighting back to back. And look at this. This bandit horde is severely reduced. They're down now to just a few units. You can't even see them. There's so few of them left, and there's just such a huge swarm of bandits. Yeah, just very few of the Sons of the Fallen left. Still fighting, though. They still believe that they can achieve victory. No surrender. Absolutely no fear. Still at 6. It took so long for this to go. We actually thought for a while that maybe we were going to win it. We were going to see, look at this, some of the bandits now shaken, thinking of running away in the face of these mighty dwarves. We thought that perhaps these Sons of the Fallen could pull it off. But no, they're slowly beginning to die. Looks like the banner carrier now. No, he's still in there. Look at that. That heroic banner carrier who's been here the whole time. Just refusing to go down. Being attacked on all sides now. Not able to retaliate, unfortunately. Oh no, maybe he'll get a kill. He's managing to get a few hits in there. Oh, he managed to take down one of the bandits who was assailing him. Taking down a Dunedain officer now. This guy is just an absolute hero. It's like the bandits. I think he's the last one in the unit as well. Look at this. No, there's still a couple of the spearmen left, but I think it's really going to come down to this banner carrier. Oh no, come on. Fight on for Durin. There we are. These bandits now trying to disentangle themselves. Another one of them falling to this banner carrier who just refuses to give any ground. And he falls at last to the king of the bandits. This one Elder noble. And look at this. Look at the devastation caused by just a couple of units. So many of these bandits have died. Let's see what the Elder Palace Guard and the Sons of the Fallen. Let's go ahead and let's speed it up now. We're coming down to the end. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a crazy battle for us, and we all had a ton of fun. Just a few moments now. Yeah, there you go. The dwarves have now admitted defeat, and look at the body count. 1,700 for the dwarves, who brought some of the one of the smallest armies. Boban, I think, had another small one, still getting a lot of kills. I think a lot of that was his archers. My Elder Palace Guard really doing a lot of work. Look at that, 517. A ton of damage laid down by the Elder Palace Guard, who absolutely laid down the law in this battle. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. We'll probably have another replay battle, or we'll do one of our series. I haven't quite decided yet, but I hope you'll join me for it, rather. English is hard. I'll see you guys later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!